Welcome. All of Chapter 2 is about linear equations. And so just a quick review, identifying the slope in each of these. The key is which one is undefined and which one is zero. Right? If you think about the form y equals mx plus b, that's slope-intercept form. And it's really easy to see the slope from it because the slope is the one attached to the x, your m. So in this case, you can think that we have y equals 0x plus 4. So my slope is 0. Okay, it's going to draw you a flat line at y equals 4. My x equals 5 then is going to be my undefined. Because there is no y equals, so we can't write it in that slope-intercept form. Right, it's going to be a straight line up and down at x equals 5. And then identifying when it is at m equals mx plus b, then your slope is easy to see. Slope is 3. So today we split 2.4 into 2 days because together it was too much, but separate they're very small lessons. So you're welcome. Today is a really small lesson. And we're looking at different forms of the linear equations. So we know the slope-intercept form, and how else can we write a linear equation? So we have slope-intercept form, point-slope form, and standard form. This is actually a screenshot from your MCA note sheet that you get. So you don't have to memorize these 3 forms, but you are not going to be given what they are, just the equation. All right, so one thing you could do is make note cards to study to remember what these 3 different forms are called, and know the pieces of them too. All right, in each of them, this m here, all right, is your slope. In your point slope form, it's given some x1, y1 point, right? So this is your point, and A, B, and C are coefficients. Another kind of piece that you know is right here. 0, B is your y-intercept. So you can identify different pieces from the different equations. Point and a slope. All right. So let's just try point slope form. And really the y, subtract, and the x subtract, those can stay. Those are like set no matter what. All right, you need an x and y variable, but our slope fills in front of the parentheses, so that negative 2/3 would go right here. And then our point x1, y1, we can fill in. Right, here's my x1, y1 in front of the correlating variable. So x1, negative 1 goes here. I'm going to use parentheses so you can see something in a moment. All right. When you're subtracting a negative, it's kind of like adding. So if I were to write this without all of my fun colors, it would be 2/3 x plus 1. All right. You don't have to distribute that yet. Right now, this is perfectly fine. If it asks you in point slope form, you actually do want to leave it like this because that's kind of telling me, the reader, that you know the difference between the forms. So do not distribute and solve for y equals yet. All right. So why don't you pause the video and try the next one on your own. All right. And then I'll go ahead and show you what I would get. Y subtract something equals, and x subtract something. So this is like your set form. Right. Let's go ahead and find the slope. It's 3/4, so that goes in front of the parentheses. And then your point. X1 is negative 2, Y1 is 1. Right? We want to convert that without subtracting a negative to make it look a little bit nicer. It would be Y minus 1 equals 3/4 X plus 2. If it doesn't give you the slope, but it asks you in point slope form, always look and read your problem because this unit, one of the standards is knowing the difference between the forms. And so you do want to read your problem and see where it wants you to stop. All right, this is in point slope form. If it asks you for it in slope intercept form, then you would have to get y equals alone. All right, so really start to read your problems and see what it's asking. First step, find the slope. All right, so using that form, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right? Doesn't matter which points you label, you're still going to get the same answer. So I like to go ahead and label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. Right? 9 subtract 1 over 7 subtract 5. Make sure you use parentheses, otherwise you might end up getting the wrong answer. 7. Alright, so the slope is 4, and we can pick either point and you're still going to get the right answer. So in this case, y subtract y1 equals slope x subtract x1. Just don't mix and match. Alright? So one option for this would be filling in the 1 and the 5. Alright? Or another option would be if we fill in the other point. The 4 will stay the same, the slope stays the same there, but we could fill in our 9 and 7 instead. Just don't mix and match, right? These are both acceptable answers. So choose one point, doesn't matter which one, they're both correct. Right? So when you use them, this one's just kind of a thinking slide, thinking about the difference between them. We're going to look at standard form next, right? So point slope form is when you're given a point and a slope. So like if you have a certain place that your line needs to go through, point slope form is really kind of the only one that works. Really great. Slope intercept is great if you know the y-intercept and the slope. Okay, kind of obvious in the names there. Standard form is a little less obvious. Standard form is most helpful. It's not like showing up right here. In real life situations, right, where you can't have any fractions of things. Standard form converts everything into whole numbers. And so if we have like bags of apples and oranges and costs, so we have some variables, and you can't really do halves of an apple when you're going out to buy an apple. Well, I mean, you could eat half of an apple, but you can't really buy half. So write the equation of a line through there. All right, we can come. So we're gonna work with point slope and then convert it into slope intercept. And so a key thing is going to be able to know which is which and convert back and forth between the two. Y equals is the goal. So y subtract y1, then the slope, and then x subtract x1. Right, I'm writing it in so you can see the lots of negatives. All right, y plus 2 equals negative 2 times x plus 5. The first step, if we're trying to get it into slope intercept form, is to distribute the slope in. Okay, to both terms. And then to get the y alone, we would subtract 2 from both sides here. So we get a y equals equation. Kind of cool. So this would be slope intercept form, and the top one would be the point slope form. So if it asks you in any given form, then it doesn't matter what you write it in. One or the other is fine. All right. Standard form has no fractions. Okay. And your x and y are on the same. All right. A is typically positive, so if you have a negative, multiply everything by negative 1. Okay? So what is the equation of y? Let's work on converting this into a given form. Okay? The first step, to me, would be you can either multiply by the denominator to get rid of your fraction, or subtract the x over. There's kind of 2 steps, and it doesn't really matter which order you do those in. And so So I'm going to subtract the 2/5 x from both sides. You get y minus 2/5 x equals -3. Be careful with your positive and negatives. And then if you multiply everything by 5, all right, make sure that you multiply them all. Not just one or the other. All right, we're going to multiply them all by 5. So you get 5y. 2/5 times 5 is 2. So that gets rid of the denominator. And then -3 times 5 is -15. All right, and now we have it almost in standard form. We do want the x in front. So just kind of switch them over. So the -2x comes first. The 5y comes second. And then the -15 on the other side. So x, y, and there you go. Oh, it's negative, yeah. So to multiply through by, see right here, by a -1, means you multiply each thing by -1, so the symbol for each of them is going to change. Now we have it in standard form. X, Y, A is typically positive. There's no fractions, so we're going. So try this one. Integer means a whole number, and positive, so like that A being positive. So just know that integer means that those whole number of things. Okay. First step, I'm going to add the 1/2 x to both sides. And then multiply everything by 2. Make sure you do that to all of the things. So 1/2, and I'll write it out, 2 times 1/2 x plus 2y equals 22. Right? 2 times 1/2 is just 1. So we get rid of that fraction. Okay, x, y, x has positive, they're all integer coefficients, so we're good. You don't necessarily need to write the 1, but if there's nothing there, it's just plain x, then there's a 1. So summary, you want to be able to write equations with anything that you're given. Right? So first thought you always want to ask yourself is which form makes the most sense. If it just says a line and it doesn't tell you what form, then you want to think about, okay, well, what form is going to make it the easiest? I don't necessarily want slope-intercept because I'm not given the intercept. I'm given a different point. So if you're given a different point, then maybe a point slope form will be the fastest. Okay, y minus my y1 would be plus 3, and then slope x minus x1. Right? Can you write it in one form and convert to the others? So can you switch this into slope-intercept form? And then subtract 3 from both sides. Okay, so now you have 2 of the forms. Can you go into the next form, the standard form? Do you know how to do all 3 of those? So if we just add that 3x over, right, and you get 3x plus y equals 3. And so now we have all 3 forms in there. Kind of cool. Happy solving!